Do you want to increase your confidence, creativity, or presence? Do you want to activate magic and flow in your life and business? I'm curious about why and how tapping into your feminine source of power can help you thrive. In today's episode, Feminine Sol Alchemy is the episode to you. For you, sorry, welcome to the show. And I'm really glad you're tuning in. My name is Kat Moulton, your guide to unlearn, unlock, and unleash. It's about shifting paradigms so you feel more fully alive, more confident, and become more visible. And our guests are here to help you do that. Today's guest is Susan Gala. Susan is a feminine wisdom teacher. She created a process to help women unveil their magic that lives within their wombs. It's an embodied approach that invokes creativity, confidence, and presence. This work supports women personally, intimately, and professionally. When women attune to their feminine energy, they feel more aligned, balanced, and empowered with a deeper connection to manifest more joy and spirit in their female body. Susan offers embodied goddess gatherings during the full moon, feminine soul collage workshops, and womb energy healing. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kat. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's so empowering and inspiring to be in this space. To me, it's a sacred space.
It is, and I'm really honored that you accepted my invitation to be here. You've told me a little bit about yourself and your story, and we connected through someone else. And I just feel like, you know, your background is so empowering in what you do, and I'm really honored to share it with our viewers. So maybe we could dive in. Do you want to share what Feminine Soul Alchemy is or means for you?
Yes. Feminine Soul Alchemy is deepening your understanding of the entire body, because we're not just a physical body. But if you noticed, I spelled the word soul, S-O-L, because soul symbolizes sun. The sun, I'm very connected to the earth. I'm very connected to the sun, moon, and great Mother Gaia. And I feel that the sun gives us this energizing spirit. And that energizing spirit lives within us. And so I want to talk to you a little bit about how can we connect to this sacred, powerful energy that we all have. And I think it happens to be women's best kept secret. It's something that we don't talk about, and I don't know why. So like I said, we're not just a physical body. We're an energy body. We're an emotional body. We're a spiritual body. And we are living inside this sacred body. And this sacred body was your first home. We're birthed into this body. So think of this sacred body just like you would maybe think of a beautiful dress that you're going to wear. You would take care of that dress. You would love that dress. You would radiate wearing that dress. You would nurture that dress. You would nourish that dress, right? Yeah. Because if you do, it's something that you could look good in over and over and over again. It's the same thing with your body. Think of that relationship that you would have with your dress. That's the relationship that you would prosper or aspire to in your body. So our body is so unique, right?
I agree. It is.
No, that's okay. And when we really think of that emotional energy, the energetic energy, and the spiritual energy, it lives in our womb. When we connect to that sacred energy, it really inspires us to a greater sense of living, well-being, and greater vitality. And so there are so many different ways that we could connect to that energy, but I always say we need to first connect to it on a physical level. Because the outer body shows what we're feeling. And people can sense what we're feeling. So I want you to think of alignment. And I'm not just thinking of posture. that alignment begins in your pelvis. That's where your sacred feminine center is. That's your feminine core. In the middle of that is your womb energy. If that pelvis is out of alignment, your entire body is out of alignment. It's the foundation of your body. It's where all movement begins.
Right.
Your legs are connected to your pelvis. Your spine is connected to the pelvis. Right behind your lower back is the sacrum. It's a triangular bone. It's a sacred bone. Your spine is connected right inside there. So your spine travels up the center of your back like a tree. Think of a strong tree. That trunk is long and stable, right? Your spine is connected to your neck and your head. So we want to think of this as your tree, right? Or think of it as this beautiful column.
Ooh, I like that too.
Yeah, I like thinking of a beautiful column, right? And on the side of either side of that column, you have all these little nerve endings, which are your tree branches. Those tree branches are telling your muscles what to do. Your nerve endings, because it's connected to your brain. Your brain is connected to your womb, your yoni.
Oh, I would love for you to break that down in a minute. I just want to jump in and say,
Yes.
I appreciate you being here because everything is connected. And I love being in nature. And when you mentioned the tree, I've done visualizations and things with trees, but that column really landed for me. And I was picturing columns actually outside, but when you started to share about the Feminine Sol Alchemy, I just wanted to jump back. I thought when you sent it to me at first, it was a typo. And I was like, no, I looked up your work and I'm like, no, it's SOL. And I'm glad that you brought that up because I actually wanted to do it. And we are like solar powered, right? And the trees, when I was visualizing the trees, as you said that, they are solar powered and so are we. And it was all ties in together. And I've had a tilted pelvis off and on over the years and I have to be really mindful of it. And it was just like, you were speaking directly to me. And, this alignment piece is so important for so many women. So how can, people connect to that feminine core energy or that yoni, as you called it? Like, how can they connect and become in a more alignment for themselves?
Okay, so since you spoke about the pelvis being aligned, not aligned, right? And when it's not aligned, it tenses up or contracts the body. Usually it will be the lower back and the pelvis. And I'm going to mention that because what are we doing right now? We're sitting, right? Do you know what we're sitting on? Not your chair. No, we're sitting on your root muscles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So we're actually sitting on your root muscles. So if your pelvis is tipped, you're contracting. I'd like to use the word congesting them. You're congesting those muscles even more because they're not feeling the energetic flow throughout your body. So I'm going to just invite you to a little exercise.
Okay.
Okay. So we're sitting on our seat. So what I'd like you to do is sit forward on your seat so you're not near the back, right?
Okay.
Bring your knees apart, not really far. I want your knees directly aligned with your hip bones, not the outside of your hips, but feel the bony structures in the front of your pelvis. 2 bones.
Okay. Yep.
Yep, right here.
Right here in the front. I got them.
Okay. So here's a little secret I'd like to do, or it's a little trick. So, take your index finger and put one on either side of the top of your pelvis, those 2 big bones. Take your thumbs and put your thumbs beneath the rib cage.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay, close your eyes just for a second. Take an inhale in. As you inhale, you expand your belly as if it was blooming, right? On the exhale, what I want you to do is expand space between your index finger and your thumb so your spine becomes taller. Imagine that you're reaching out from your heart right now. Beautiful. Gently open your eyes, right? Stay there for a moment because you might have a feeling like you're floating.
I do. I feel like I'm floating and I'm sitting up so much straighter than when we started.
Yes, that's just a simple exercise that I always invite women to practice, like every hour. Just try to readjust your body, sit up tall. If you can, begin with 1 minute.
Okay.
But it's not just when we're seated. Every movement we make begins with the pelvis. So that means if we're walking, we're running, we're swimming, we're playing any type of sports, that pelvis needs to be aligned.
Okay. And when it's not, what happens then, like for women?
Okay, so when it's not, and we're sitting like this. Okay, so that would put your pelvis behind you and you would be sitting on your sacrum. So you could try that right now. And what happens is that your belly pushes forward automatically. Do you feel that?
Yeah, it's not as comfortable. It's like,
it's not. The other thing is your thigh muscles, your psoas muscle becomes extremely tight.
they're not tight now, but I've been there. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So now readjust yourself and come back to center again.
Okay.
Okay, the same thing is if we are tipped forward, if the pelvis is tipped forward, our spine has a big arch in it, right? And if it does, it is shortening your spine and putting pressure on the lower back. So when we are seated, I said we're sitting on our root muscles. Our root muscles hold up the female organs. So it's real important to keep that pelvis aligned, because if you're sitting in an incorrect position, you'll put in abdominal pressure and pressure on those organs, the female organs.
So that makes a lot of sense. And then when we're not in alignment like that, and you mentioned congested, are we just, does it ripple out into our life where we're more congested and we're not in flow with almost anything?
Oh, absolutely, because we're closed off.
Yeah.
We're not open. We're not available. We're not inviting people in. Our energy.
Right. Do you think many women in our culture are closed off and not inviting people in, or is it a big mix? Or what do you
No, I do. But that's for many reasons. And so we could talk about the spiritual body then. Okay. So the spiritual body is very, very, again, connected to the womb, but it's connected to our experiences from the past and present. For example, if our ancestors, like your mother's not your ancestor, but if your mother, your mother's mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and some generations down the line have not healed a trauma. Now, when I say trauma, I'm talking about not just talking about domestic violence or rape. It could have been, nowadays, it could have been an abortion. It could be female surgeries. It could be losing a child. It could be environmental trauma, which the whole world is going through. And what I mean by that is the tornadoes, the flooding, the hurricanes, the global change of this weather affects us also energetically.
Mm-hmm.
What we're viewing on TV affects us. This is all
Right.
emotional, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about the present traumas, we can also hold that in our body if our DNA imprinted this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that we should be very conscious about, and perhaps be mindful of different exercises that we could do to help clear this. One simple way to help with this energy clearing is when you wake up in the morning, what are you doing? Are we putting the phone on? Are we putting the TV on? Are we opening up the computer? Can you take a walk in nature and feel the vibration of nature and receive what she has to offer you? Maybe light a candle, maybe light some incense, maybe just sit still for 5 minutes if you can. But one thing we can all do is breathe. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're born to breathe, and our last breath will be the passing on into this spirit world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's learning how to really consciously breathe, and breathing will also help the vitality and health of your yoni.
Ooh, so let's dive into that in a minute. I loved what you shared. So, it sounds like we start with the physical, but we really work through the emotional and the spiritual, tap into the generational, like it's multifaceted, right?
It is. Yeah, it is.
But it's the breath and connecting to the yoni, if I'm understanding this correctly, that can
Yes.
really help with our
Yes.
presence, and that presence, we can feel more confident. Is that?
Yes, and we'll be able to voice what we need and receive. So these emotions, old emotions, are expressions, are unexpressed emotions that create all this tension in our body.
Right. And then the tension in that core of our body, right? So can we back up for 1 second for someone who's not familiar with the term yoni? Can you share what that is? Because I know I only learned of it a few years ago, and I think a lot of women in our culture aren't familiar. And it's simple, but maybe you can share.
Yes, I've been using the word yoni for about 12 years now. It is Sanskrit for vagina.
Okay.
Vagina is a very strong word. To me, it's a masculine word. To a lot of women, it doesn't feel good. Or when I did use that word vagina, a lot of women put their head down. Yoni is beautiful. It's inspiring. It's a rose. Your yoni looks like a rose or rose petals. I knew you would have a smile.
I'll tell you when we're not recording. Yeah, brought something, but it's so great, and that you shared this too, because the energy behind the different words feels so different. And it just, when I hear you say yoni, it just feels softer and helps me even just soften into that feminine, where, there's a time and a place to be in our masculine energy versus our feminine, but it took me a long time to soften and get there. So when I hear you say it, even just the way you say it is softer and more vibrant and empowering. So I appreciate you, explaining to our viewers what that means. I wanted to ask you too, the womb healing that people do, what makes you different from other women who may be teaching about this?
My personal story. It was a tragic story. I will say, to make it very inspiring for you, I lived a very, very enchanted life, and you'll understand how I wove my work into my previous profession.
Okay.
I was a lingerie designer in New York City. And being a lingerie designer is very glamorous, but the beautiful part of it, I work with soft, sensual, very sexy fabrics. My models, my fit-in models were live models. I don't just use my mannequins. I got to see all shapes of bodies, which was beautiful. And also in school, when I was in school, I attended the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. We had to take live drawing classes. So live drawing classes wasn't of a fashion model. They were our bodies, our human bodies of every shape and size. So it was quite fascinating that I was introduced to that really made me foresee everything else, because what I had been doing as a profession, I was working on the external body. I was creating beautiful garments for a woman could radiate her essence out in, with her partner, wherever that partner may be. And then all of a sudden, with the blink of an eye, my life changed in an instant. I'm not going to go through the whole story. I'm just going to say that I was attacked by 5 men who broke into my loft while I was sleeping. And I will say now, my pain, my physical pain, my emotional pain became my treasure, because I knew a lot about the body and I knew something deep inside of me was not right. You might have heard this before. It takes a woman 7 years to find a doctor that will listen to her when you feel that there's something wrong in the intimate parts of your body.
That's a powerful statistic. And
Yes.
I believe it's true, because I know trying to get medical help for different things, I was not listened to. So
No.
to hear you frame it that way, I hope anyone listening knows that they're not alone, that they have to keep going, right? Or
Yes.
look for other things.
Yes. I could say I was so blessed growing up as a young girl, because my godfather turned me on, to acupuncture. And I began taking yoga when I was a teenager, and I was dancing. I was taking ballet classes. So I knew a lot about form and posture and taking care of myself in a holistic way. So after about 3 years, I said that there's something else. I know there's just something else. I need to investigate here. So I began going to different healers in New York City and shamans. And I decided, something? I decided to become a licensed massage therapist. So I became a licensed massage therapist. But what I noticed is when I was working with women and my client would come into my massage room, there's something wrong with her body. She had what I had. I know what I had. My body felt like no one could see me. I felt like I was a walking wall, like there was a wall in front of me all the time, that you couldn't see me. I couldn't even see myself, or I couldn't feel myself. And without even touching a body, I could feel that energy. So it took me into deeper studies. And I feel very blessed with my mentors, because I got certified in holistic pelvic care, pelvic pain release, womb awakening, womb energetics, chakra healing. Chakra healing. So I really took a deep dive internally in a sacred way, what women are going through. So on a deeper level, I invite all women to open up their minds that, like Kat said earlier, you're not alone. Gathering with women like women did, like our ancestors did years ago, gathering in circles, you can tell your story with no judgment. You could feel at home again with other women, but most of all, at home in your body.
That's powerful. that, and we don't value that enough, I think, or do that enough, like come together as a group of women to share our story so we can release it almost and honor it and, celebrate, and just, there's so much power in being in that circle. And I love that. Do you do a lot of that in your work? Like or
I do. Everything is done in circle. Everything it offers in groups.
Mm-hmm.
All my healing.
Nice.
Yes, to me, it's more inspiring for women, even if they don't speak, they're witnessed. And that's what we're missing. We're not being witnessed. Witness opens to healing.
I agree with you so much. I wrote this short book. It's not published yet, but it's called The Loneliness Antidote. And there's an acronym that stands, it's wet glue, and I won't get into it, but the first one is W. It's witnessing. It's so powerful. It's so missing. And I think for a lot of women who've been through trauma, they haven't found a safe space to be witnessed. Like, it's twofold. We learn to be quiet, but really, not everyone needs or deserves to hear our story, and it's not always safe. So cultivating safe spaces for healing, like you're doing, I think is really powerful and really needed and wonderful. So thank you for doing that. It's
of course
important. We don't have a lot of time left, and there's like so many questions I could ask you, or so many ways we could go with this. But when you talked about the womb energy, how does connecting to that really in our life, like, help us be more present? I think you touched on a little, and feel more confident in what we're doing, whether it's in our personal life or our professional life. How can that really help us? What do you think?
Confidence and presence.
Yeah.
With confidence and presence, you radiate your inner self out into this world, which I think is what we all need. People can recognize that you all of a sudden have this vibration or glow as you walk through a door or enter a room or have a seat at a table.
So we're not doing anything in between. We're really just working with you or someone like you to really help us do that inner work, that womb work, that tap into our feminine energy. And just by doing that, we carry that presence and that confidence there's no intermediate step, right? Is that what I'm getting?
No. I think the biggest thing for all women is to try to stop the noise around us, not listen to the noise, or not read on Facebook or social media, Instagram or other social media, what everyone else is doing. Be true to yourself. Love yourself unconditionally first before you send that love out to anybody else. Don't let anybody take that away from you. That is so important.
I agree. It is important. And that is such one of those good foundational steps along with the physical. I wanted to ask you more, like, how can rituals or cultivating them really help with that? That self-love or that presence. Can you share anything about rituals and magic for us before we wrap up?
Yes. So you can see behind me, that is my sacred temple. That is my prayer, my ritual.
Nice. It's gorgeous.
Connecting to that on a daily basis will change everything for your daily work, for your personal work, for your inner work, anything that you are creating with your partner or creating with yourself. But I want you to think about how we create that and why it's so important that understand that your womb is connected to the great womb of the earth and the moon. We were once a seed planted in our womb, right?
Yeah.
So is Mother Earth. The seeds were planted in Mother Earth, and they bloom into flowers or trees. And the sun is energizing that, and the moon is connected to the rhythms of the earth and the rhythms of your body.
Yeah.
Connected to the water flowing. You had mentioned, I think, something about flowing energy, or women are water. Our energy flows within us, just like the energy and vibrations outside. We flow with those rhythms and the cycles of the earth and the moon. And that is the beginning of your daily magic. So how can you connect to that? If you could only get outside for 2 minutes, take your shoes off, take your socks off, walk and stand in the grass. If not, if you're at home, you're going to laugh and giggle when I say this.
What?
Wear a long dress without panties.
I'm already on track. I'm not going to laugh. Okay.
Because if you could walk around barefoot on your hardwood floors, if you have hardwood floors and you're walking around without that undergarment, you can still connect to that earth.
Ooh, okay.
Yes. As you're standing on the hardwood floor, or even if you're sitting right now, you could try this later. Take your shoes and socks off. And I want you to just gently close your eyes and imagine that the soles of your feet are connecting to Mother Earth's roots. And visualize what you're feeling or sensing in your body. Do you feel that the roots may be warm or cool?
Warm.
Can you send that warm energy throughout your body? Can you imagine what that could feel like all day long?
Juicy and freeing and grounded.
Yes. Yes, it's the sensations. Imagine the sensations, not the sensations of that outer world, your inner world.
Inner world.
Yeah.
That is so important. And, that took me years and years to tap into, because it wasn't, or at least the way I grew up, the things that I learned, the jobs that I were in, there was no awareness around any of that for me. And I grew up in a very masculine type home, where, I had a mom, but she had all brothers and I had all uncles, and she was always in her masculine trying to, and I modeled the same thing, trying to get everything done that needed to get done, and never, especially my mom, never modeled any type of feminine practice or ritual or downtime or anything. It was just go, go, go. So it took me a long time. And I do some of these things that you're talking about, but I have to be very conscious of bringing that into my life. And I notice that when I don't, I show up differently. And, when you talked earlier about, what do you do when you get up in the morning? And for about a year, little over a year and a half, after I moved out of my house and left my husband, I had complete silence. And I did connect, and I would dance or I would chant. And this winter, I started listening to something else that's not related to any of that. And it's a more masculine energy. It's a group connection. And there's value in there for me for some things. But I notice when I do that, if I haven't done the other things first, my energy is off all day. Like, I am not in the same space. I've picked up too many other people's energies, and I haven't grounded into my own yet. And I know I can shift and change that, but I have had to be very mindful of, if I'm going to be with other people, it's, like in the metaverse, it's online, that early, I need to center myself first. And even take it a step further, if I'm really mindful, kind of cleanse and release that energy and recenter myself again. Because some of these things, even though they're not bad experiences, they can still affect us negatively if we're not mindful of doing these things for ourselves, like you shared, and connecting to that inner core or that womb. I'm going to be even more mindful. Like, I'm going to kick it up a notch and connect to my womb energy a little more frequently. I thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I want you to know, and also the audience know, life isn't always this way for me. I'm just like you. I am affected by outer energies, but in a very deep way. I mean, if I'm invited to something and I can feel the energy is off, I actually have to leave. I won't suffer and stay there like I would have, years ago. If I'm going to a class, the same thing. If I feel the energy of the instructor is not going to feel good in my body, I leave.
How did you? Oh, go ahead.
I follow what's happening to my body by the other energies that are around me.
How did you get the confidence to start making that choice for yourself? Was it by doing these practices and really tapping in, or because it can take a lot of courage to just leave something that you may have paid for or feel that can benefit you in other ways?
Well, I have to say that sometimes there are people in our circle that no longer serve you. Do I tell them verbally? No. I slowly let the relationship dissolve because it's not healthy for me anymore. And I'd say the past few years, I've done that a lot. I feel so much better that a lot of people have said to me, "What's going on with you?"
Yeah.
But I needed to do it. I needed to do it. And it doesn't matter who these people are. And it's not just females, it could be males too. It could be friends that I've had for years, but the energy does not serve me. I'm not in the place that they're in. And it's real important for me to live my life the way I need to live it right now. It's not about how many numbers I have around me, meaning how many people I have around me.
Yep.
It's what energy they're given off, and do I need to absorb it if it doesn't feel good?
So it's that noticing how we feel and how things affect us. And
Yes, a lot of it is the sensing and learning how to ask yourself, or even the question, why do I feel, when you come home, maybe from an event, why do I feel this way? It's like, that was it. It didn't feel good to me in the very beginning, and that's what it is. It was that energy at that event. It was certain people. For me, it's that way.
Right.
I could see it right away now. I could feel it. I could feel it coming towards me.
Yeah. That's so important. That feeling, and like you just said, feel it coming towards me. I'd felt a lot of these things for years, but I dismissed them. And it took a lot of that internal work and what you said, like coming home and reflecting, asking ourselves questions,
Right.
noticing things, but then shifting our own action around it. It sounds like
Yes.
making
Yes.
a choice.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, always be kind.
Right.
I don't always be kind. I don't tell people that, I don't want to be around them anymore. Emotionally, it bothers me, or energetically. No. What has happened is I will get invited to something, or it could be something in their family or their children or whatever it is. I could have been invited to something, or perhaps it was even in my own family. And I know those situations. I've been around them. And it doesn't feel good anymore.
So you're honoring yourself.
Yes, yes. Like I feel that now this body is more important to me than going to an event that I don't feel good at.
Right. I think that's so important for women to hear, because so many of us just show up out of obligation or loyalty or whatever, when we don't really want to be there. And it's not serving anyone when we're physically there, but we're not energetically there.
Right. Remember I said that we're living inside of this body in the very beginning? This is sacred.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's real important to take care of it and honor those sensations, those feelings, those emotions, that energy.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I think that's such a great note to end on, that we should honor it. Our body is a temple and treat it as such. And like start with the physical, move into the emotional, the spiritual. If anyone is watching this live or on the replay and they want to find you, Susan, to learn more about diving into this, how can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Susan Gala. Friend me, send me a private message, Facebook message. You can email me, susan@susangala.com.
Awesome. And then you have a free or an offering for our
I-
viewers, don't you?